Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for news stories from YellowCat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. Managers of Reddit. What's the fastest you've had to fire a new hire? About an hour. Kid was a temp hire and we set him up at his job, showed him what to do, and turned him loose. There was a can of degreaser sitting with the machine he was operating. I came into my office and sat down, looked up, and watched him pick up a shop rag, spray a lot of degreaser on it, then he pressed it into his face and started huffing it, deeply. I got up, went over to him, and said, "Come on, son," and walked him to the door. I asked the temp agency to please attempt to weed out a little better. I saw something similar, but with alcohol. Dude got hired as a waiter, and halfway into his first shift, he's falling down drunk. I pulled him into the kitchen and said, "Dude, you're fired." Not that I was firing him, just an observation. I was a little taken aback and not really thinking about what I was saying. The owner heard me and reprimanded me, "You don't have the authority to fire anybody," and then immediately fired the guy. I worked for a major 3-lettered company. A new service tech was hired. Once he logged in, he pulled out a portable hard drive from his backpack, connected it to his machine, and started to copy everything he had access to. Within 3 hours, security was escorting him out the door. I work at a daycare. I'm not a supervisor, but I watched my supervisor fire someone on the first day. Most of our new hires are actually middle-aged women. 90% of them are awesome, but a lot of them feel super entitled because they're middle-aged. Doesn't help that I'm only 23 either. Anyway, our new hire's first day of work. She seems okay, doesn't make too much of an effort with the kids, not that I'm normal, takes some time to get comfortable with other people's kids. We change diapers on a schedule unless they poop or obviously need a change. I've changed a couple diapers already and noticed she doesn't lift a finger if the kid needs a change. 10 a.m. rolls around, which is when we change every kid. I ask her to help me. She seems surprised and goes, "Oh, I don't change diapers, honey." Yep, this lady refused to change diapers. She took a job caring for babies. She was fired maybe an hour later. I managed a gas station for a while. I hired this guy who seemed completely normal, which was hard to come by, so I had him start the next day. After about 30 minutes of working, he says he needs a break. No big deal, something must have come up. Maybe 10 minutes later, a customer came in saying a man was passed out in the men's restroom. I send another guy working into the restroom, and the dude I just hired was naked and completely unresponsive. Paramedics come, and turns out he overdosed on heroin. He survived, but I still never got an answer on why he was naked. She didn't even make it through the office tour. We hire a lot of seasonal workers, and last year we had a girl with one of the legit small particles of peanut dust will absolutely kill her dead peanut allergies. So we put up a few reminder signs, had some peanut-free dishes and forks in the kitchen, that kind of stuff. New girl started a few weeks after most of the rest of the group, and when I was showing her around, she pointed to the signs and asked sarcastically if we were serious. She looked genuinely surprised when I said they were real serious, and then smirked and said, "You actually believe someone can die from peanuts?" And followed it up with, "Stuff like that isn't real. You'll see." I asked a few questions to make sure she wasn't trying to make a terrible joke, and then went full manager speak and asked if she'd be able to follow the kitchen rules to keep her coworkers safe. And when it was obvious she was serious, I told her she was done for the day and she could head home. I don't have hire/fire powers, so I was a little worried when I took it to our boss. If she denied it, it would be her word against mine. Fortunately, when my boss took her aside to ask what happened, she replied, "Kenji Anko was getting all weird about someone who's pretending to have one of those fake peanut allergies." From what I hear, she was completely, genuinely shocked when she was fired. I had a bartender who lost money her first shift by herself. The drawer started with $200, came back with $140. She had worked 6 hours and did not have many credit card tips or anything, so she somehow managed to spend all of her tips plus $60 without leaving the building. Yeah, fired. One week I got a call from the county jail because this girl I had just hired had been arrested and she refused to give any info to the police except for the fact that she worked for this particular store. They called me trying to figure out her info and a person to contact about her arrest. I told them I couldn't give out that info, but I would call her emergency contact to let them know that she was in jail. I called this girl's emergency contact, who was her mom, and told the mom that her daughter was currently sitting in jail. All the mom said was, "Figures," and she hung up on me. After she was released from jail, about 2 days later, she ended up in the hospital from alcohol poisoning. So yeah, I had to let her go. The worst part is that I actually liked her. Hired a kid to work opening shifts at a local pool. We were short-staffed, so he was learning the ropes with me on a 5 a.m. shift. As we opened, he asked if he could make a quick cup of coffee. I agreed, asking him to make me one. Around 5 minutes later, a swimmer comes up to me and said she saw my lifeguard snorting something. I was obviously peed and went to go see what was going down. I go up to the window and saw him doing another line. After a short argument, he finally decided to just leave and not make me drug test him. Lasted a whole 10 minutes of us being open. Less than an hour after orientation. Got a call shortly after he went to work that he was harassing all the women and claiming, "We wouldn't dare fire him or he'll come back at night and break our panels with a hammer like he did to his last job." He was bragging this to everyone. Came in the night after his first training shift. He wasn't scheduled. Didn't tell anyone he was there. He went into one of our female residents' rooms. It's unclear what he did while he was in there, as this particular resident wasn't able to speak. He came in during a knock shift where there was 3 staff in total in the entire building, so no one saw him until 4 a.m. when it was time for the next round. There was no physical evidence of abuse towards the resident, so he wasn't charged with anything, but he was immediately fired and was blacklisted from our company. Wide open call center desk farm. Dude on the first day fires up the P with sound. Back in the day, I used to work frontline tech support for one of our ISPs and troubleshot both internet and cable TV boxes. F.U. Eris. One of the types of calls we'd get was our streaming service wasn't working, F.U. Eris and your MP4 errors. So, it's my first Friday evening shift and around 7 p.m. The call center's busy, lots of people talking on the phone, and I get one come through. "Thank you for calling Technical Support. This is McPherson speaking, and how can I help you?" "Hey, I ordered a VOD and it's just showing a black screen." "Okay, sir. May I ask what title so I can double check that it's streaming properly?" Sir, it's okay. I don't care what you ordered." "Okay, it was Teens for Cash 4. "Alright then, sir. Can I place you on hold so I can test this and make sure it's working? Thanks." My first thought was, I've seen this. Allison White, if you're reading this, call me. And then immediately set out to find a similar model cable box to test this on. Now, it was company policy to watch about 30 seconds, skip ahead however much, watch a minute or two, skip ahead, and 30 more seconds to make sure that at least some parts are working. The only test box that was the same model of the customers was completely across the center and connected to a TV mounted right above where the billings escalation team sits. "Excuse me, ladies, but can I test a title here on your TV for a customer?" "Oh, hi, Tugs. Sure, feel free." "OS, this is really happening!" So, I find the P, skip through most of it pretty quick. Seriously, Allison, I would disappoint you so hard! Toss the remote on the desk and go back to my seat. About 20 minutes later, my sup comes over and tells me to come see him when I'm done with that call. I come to learn that no one had noticed the P I left going until a lady close to retirement saw Haley Young taking a load and said, "That lucky B.O. must be nice." And everyone else was mortified. The only thing that saved my A was when management found out, the escalations lady said, "He asked to test a movie and I said it was okay." Within 20 minutes of her first shift, she took around $200 out of the register. We put exactly $300 in the register at the start of each shift for the float. Not a manager, but a former coworker of mine was fired from our inbound customer service rep job during our second on-the-phone shift because he shouted at a customer, "My God, are you effing stupid?" He says he forgot to hit mute. I let some poor kid go after 30 minutes. He didn't want to quit because it was his first job and he bought scrubs entirely for this occasion. But he was clearly in over his head the second he started his orientation. To my credit, he interviewed like a champ, and some people are just really good at saying all the right things. I asked if he would feel better if he was fired, my intention being to remind him the fired is a bad thing, so if he doesn't think he can hang, he should quit on his own terms. He said yes, so I fired him. He shook my hand and told me I had nice eyebrows and left. The next day he emailed me to let me know he was quitting. I told him there were no harsh feelings since he was already fired. I have now learned to ask every phlebotomist applicant if they are comfortable being exposed to blood. Effing thanks, Connor! Had an employee I gave a warning about not pulling his weight at 8:45 a.m. At 9:30, my team informs me that he just announced in their 9 o'clock meeting that he's taking a week-long vacation, starting the next day. 9:35, he is nowhere to be found when I am looking for him to see if they misheard about the impromptu vacation he failed to run by me. He shows back up at 10, confirms he had decided he needs a vacation while in the 9 o'clock meeting. I hope it was a nice vacation. My job recently hired a woman to work at a restaurant, and she got fired within 2 days due to S harassment. We believe she was an S addict and have now changed our interviewing procedures. She would go up to the desk and smack the receptionist's butt. The receptionist grabbed her hand and cussed her out the third time she tried doing it. She was being trained by our male manager, and she placed his hand on top of her crotch and kept telling him, "My mother lives down the street. We could just hang out there, babe." Yes, she called him babe, lol. "We can go there really quick. We could all go." She would push her breasts onto him and intentionally bump into him. She also hit on the customers. Not me, but I had a friend who supervised a movie theater. They hired this kid, first day, first showing of the day, he lets 20 people in and follows them in himself. He thought no one would notice he and his friends partying while watching a movie that he closed sales to so they'd have the room to himself. Thank you for watching. Guys, thank you for all of the support and likes. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. See you next time.